Okay, good evening, everybody. This is the uh, March Finance and Claims Committee meeting. I'd like to call to order at 7:01. First off, I'd like to call a roll. It looks like we have Mr. Lopez, Mr. Dellinger, Ms. Edie, Mr. Sawyer, and I think that's it right now, and that's a quorum. Next on the list, I'd like to go through the acceptance of the minutes. We have four sets of minutes, which are combined, actually, um, the February 12th, 26th public hearing and regular minutes. Does anybody have any questions or comments? I have one comment on the documentation of the emails that were sent in. It appears that we have David McCarthy's email in there twice. So we just want to check that, make sure that it's okay. Anybody, if nobody has any objections to that, I'll move the acceptance of those meetings of February 12th. All those in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you. Next is a special meeting
Oh,
on,
Chair, quick question. Did you have to make a motion first before, or you can just call the vote right then and
I
there?
just call the vote on
Oh,
that
okay, okay,
since
that's fine,
nobody
that's
had
fine,
any comments. So
that's fine. Okay.
okay. Second was the special meeting on February 18th. Uh, any comments or questions on those minutes?
Mm.
Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Okay, they're approved. That's unanimous. Lastly, we have a special joint meeting of February 24th. Once again, anybody have any comments or questions about the minutes? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Approval of minutes as accepted. All those in favor? One, two, three, four, five. Again, unanimous. Okay. I'd like to move the um, item number 7. I'm sorry, item number 8, executive session. Since the chief is with us this evening and he's on a tight schedule, I'd like to move that item up. Does anybody have any objections? Or anybody would have moved that motion to move this item number 8 to the front? So move, Mr. Lopez. And all those in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. So what we'll do now is we'll leave this meeting and go to the um, uh, you have the Zoom link to the executive session that Chitsmay had sent out earlier today. Okay, so we'll see you all back here in a couple of minutes, I hope. It looks like everybody got back. Great. Okay, let's go on. Next item is public participation.
Mr.
Um,
Mr. Chair,
yes.
you'll need to take a vote on that item because you didn't take any action on it in the executive session.
That's right. We have it. It's on our list. It'll be part of our new business.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Um, yeah, I should mention that we just ended our executive session. There was no motions and no action taken as a result of that executive meeting. Okay, going into public participation. Um, just may, do we have anybody online that would like to speak based on any of the items on the agenda?
There are no hands raised.
Okay. And that's nobody in the room here with me, so let's close public participation at 7:32. Next item is the reports. The Oak Hills Authority, it's nice to have Mr. Dutton back to give us an update of several months of financial statements. I think that we've had those financial statements and we looked at them, so it might be in that we've already spent a half hour. Maybe you just want to give us an update of January and kind of the year to date and highlights of the report, Alan. Mr.
Surely.
Dutton.
Well, good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the Finance Committee. Just a brief overview. I wasn't sure about November, December, January. Just give you a quick. November, we were budgeted to lose 56,000. We actually lost 23. In December, we were budgeted to lose 63,000. We lost 71. January, budgeted to lose 74,000, and we lost 76. Over those 3 months, basically, we were budgeted to lose 193,000. We only lost 170. So over the 3 month period, it wasn't, too bad, to be very honest with you. There was very little play in December, January, and February. But some of our revenues there was offset because we didn't have our golf professional with us. Paul's contract was done at the end of October, so we were able to save some monies in November, December, and January. On a year-to-date basis, after at the end of January, with our net income bottom line, we were budgeted to make 172,000 as of the end of January, and we find ourselves actually with 356,000. So due to a strong summer period, we are $184,000 ahead of budget at the end of January. However, February is going to be a pretty miserable month because it was a miserable month, and we haven't had any play at the course for the last 3 months. On the cash basis, month of November, we ended up with $1,036,000. However, at the end of February, our cash balance was down to $640,000. Obviously, we paid for the bunkers that we did in this last, during this last summer season, and also we do burn through cash because we have no revenue coming in, not as a higher rate, of course, but our cash balance is now at $640. Perhaps the biggest news we have hired a new golf professional. I'm very pleased to say we've hired Nick Novak, who was the number 2 guy at Appomattox Golf Club. Nick is a Norwalk guy. He lives about 7 minutes away from the club. He went to Norwalk High. His 4 children both are in the Norwalk schools. And we had 9 applicants. We got down to 2 very, very good candidates. And Nick has started. In fact, we met with the staff today, so I'm very pleased and excited to say that Nick is on board. We did actually open the back 9 yesterday, maybe today, and so you can play the back 9 on temporary tees. And we look forward to a busy season here at Oak Hills. So that is my report, Mr. Chairman. Are there any questions that I can answer at this time?
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Dutton? Alan, can you give us an idea of any other new capital projects that are going to be implemented in the
Well,
next fiscal year?
we had a lot of deferred maintenance because no money was spent, for a long, long time, apart from the last couple of years, where we have worked on the cart paths. There is more work to be done on the cart paths. I think a lot of the golfers will agree. Not a tremendous amount, but there is work to be done. A lot of deferred maintenance in Jim Shell's area. That is a very old area. It leaks, it's really cold, and it's not a great area. That area does need to be upgraded. There is the eternal search for water.
I'm sorry, but what is that area?
That's it.
everybody?
The area when you drive into the club and you look on the left-hand side, which is at the parking lot area there, all those buildings that are there, where he stores all his equipment and all the, the excess soil and stuff like that. That building is almost ready to fall down, and we've been pushing it off and pushing it off. At some stage, that is going to need to be renovated. I think.
But to the golf course itself, there's no more maintenance that has to be done other than the cart paths.
There is mainly irrigation. The next bugaboo is going to be irrigation system. I think it's 20 years old. So we haven't done a scope of work yet, but within the next 2 to 3 years, we're going to have to look at the irrigation system, which is a big project because that's what obviously waters all the greens and everything. And it is 20 years old, and there have been some issues with it. So that would be another big project on the horizon.
Very good. And the prospects for next year's golfing season are bright.
Well, it's really hard because we did 48,000 rounds in the last fiscal year. It's just hard to beat that, to be very honest with you. And the course does take a lot of bashing. A lot of it's going to be weather related, but we anticipate we haven't, in the process of formulating the budget at this moment in time. But we will probably not be as aggressive as we have been in the last couple of years, especially with what's been going on this winter, realistically. So, but things do look good. The restaurant is holding its own. The winter is a tough time for it, but it has been doing some, Thursday trivia, Friday bands, and Sunday brunches, and getting along by doing private parties. But it is the mix between doing the private parties where you make money and the actual restaurant where you kind of don't make that much money, only in the bar. So, but they're there and they're doing okay.
Good. Good. That's what we'd like to hear. Anybody have any other questions? Rich, do you want to debate
Extraordinary
him?
job. Extraordinary job.
Okay.
Good. You can get promoted if you like, Mr. Dellinger.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Next on the list is the tax collections. Ms. Biagirelli is with us this evening. Do you want to give us everybody I assume has seen the commentary as well as the analysis that Ms. Biagirelli has provided us. Do you want to give us some highlights on that, Lisa, and then we'll open it up for questions or comments?
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, you can.
Perfect, thank you. The first thing that I would ask that we do is address the claims, please. Which is
You want to do that? Do you want to do that before we do this?
Yeah, I think maybe we should put this to bed.
Okay, fine.
In your packet, on page 127, there is a listing of special requests. So this month we do have 3 special requests that require a vote because they are in excess of $10,000. All of these 3 were basically duplicate payments in error. We're a taxpayer, and for example, their escrow company paid, and one of those payments needs to go back. And you're voting on them because of the dollar amount. So I would appreciate it if you would be willing to vote on that and send it to the full council.
So the first one is the PBC capital management.
Yes,
And that's just they just paid that in error.
that one, their
What's the-
bank paid in error, yeah.
Okay, and then the next two, 617 Connecticut Avenue, and then Wayland, Patrick and Sarah Wayland on Ledge Road. Those are duplicate payments. What's the
Duplicate
difference
payments.
between a paid in error and a duplicate payment?
A paid in error is that the bank paid the wrong account. So
I see.
someone else's money went to the account.
Okay.
And the paid in error is when someone basically, the husband and the wife both pay, or the mortgage company and the homeowner both pay. Those are just two examples.
Okay. All right, anybody have any questions for Ms. Biagirelli? All right, so let's put all three of them together, and can I have a motion to advance these to the council for payment?
I'll make a motion to advance them to council.
Okay, all those in favor, or any comments or questions, I should say? Okay, all those in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. Great.
Thank you.
Okay,
So
so
onward.
now we
The
can move on to the good stuff.
good stuff, the monthly reports. You can see from the spreadsheet that our collections through the month of February, which is 2/3 of the way through the year, we were at 97.33% for all types combined, which is good. That's exactly where we needed to be. And now we can really evaluate where we are because we have posted all the payments that came through timely in the month of February. We're working on our tax sale. The sale is being held in July. Before we can proceed with that, we have to file liens. And before we do that, we have to send intent to lien notices and delinquent notices. So that is what we're doing right now. The notices are going out this week for real estate and business personal property, and sometime later this month for motor vehicle. So we're right on schedule with that. We've been still working with the health department on the health permits. Our collection agency is still working on their mailings. We're working on Paul's MTS bills. Let's see what else I want to tell you because I know you have a heavy agenda here. We are still also working on the transition to our new online payment provider. That will probably take place. It's happening a little bit later than we had hoped, but sometime between now and June, we will be transitioning to that new company. And I talked a little bit more about that also at the Board of Estimate and Taxation meeting. We hope it's going to be better for our taxpayers in terms of efficiency because the city is going to be absorbing the cost of allowing them to use an ACH payment, an e-check. We're going to try to encourage the use of the e-check and hopefully over time discourage the use of paper checks and envelopes and mailing your tax payment to the tax office. We think it'll be better for the taxpayers and better for the city as well because we'll get our money sooner. And the amount of mail fraud that has been happening, this will allow that to be reduced. The cost to us is going to be 25 cents per transaction. The current cost is $1.25 borne by the taxpayer. So we felt that this was a good way to do business and to move forward a little bit. So we're looking forward to making that transition. Also, the cost to the taxpayer for using a credit card or a debit card will be less than what they're currently paying. So thanks to our purchasing department for helping us to put out an RFP and get a better provider, a better service provider. So all these things we're working on right now, and also, of course, looking forward to the second installment billing, because before you know it, it's going to be May and we're going to be talking about that. But
Terrific.
with regard, the only other thing I would say is regards to the tax sale, we've already collected more than $1 million since sending out our first set of letters in December, which was just to properties that owed 3 or more years back. And we know those are going in the sale. So we were able to alert them that it was coming, and we already brought in that much. So that is a good thing.
Okay, that is a good thing. Does anybody have any questions or Ms. Edie?
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Ms. Lisa.
Hey, Ms. Nicole.
So thank you so much for your presentation. I was listening to you on the BET meeting. Tell me about these zoning and blight fees. Okay, so all I want to know is, I know you can collect them if the property goes to the tax sale. That's when you can collect them, right? But does it have to be that progressed that it has to go to a tax sale? Okay, if it's just regular tax time, somebody owes these fees, can we collect at just regular tax time? Or it has to be progressed all the way to that their property is in the tax sale to get that
That's a
money?
great question. That's a great question. And I hope, Lisa, we had this conversation before, and maybe you can explain it to everybody, because I think everybody's probably a little confused as to the delays that we anticipate, that we find ourselves with.
So the answer to your question is sort of yes and no, and I'll explain why. Tax debt is different than other types of fines. So tax collectors have what I would call extraordinary powers that other municipal government officials don't have in levying fines. So a tax collector can seize and sell property without a court order. We can seize bank accounts without a court order. We can seize property without a court order, because the General Assembly recognizes that property taxes basically fuel the public education system. And they deem that so important that they give us these powers. Our municipal tax lien is a super priority lien that takes precedence even over an Internal Revenue Service lien or a state revenue service lien. So, and over a mortgage lien. Okay, we come first. And if you trickle that idea down, it would make sense that a tax lien that is enforced through a tax sale is a little bit different than a zoning fee or a blight fee. A number of years ago, the General Assembly gave the blight lien the same enforcement capability as a tax lien. And they said, if blight wanted to enforce their lien through tax sale, they could do it. So when that happened, we started collecting on blight liens through the tax sale, even if the person didn't owe any property taxes. Okay, if they owed blight, and if the blight department gave it to me, I would put it in the sale. And they were typically large dollar amount liens. A couple of years ago, I want to say 2024, the General Assembly also gave us that power with regard to zoning violation fees. And they said, if you want to enforce collection through a tax sale, like you do for blight, you can do it. And that was the first time we were able to do that. So we tried that last year. We were the first municipality in the state to do that. The problem came into being because my tax liens are a little different than their liens. And I don't need to go to court to get that lien. I just type it up and file it. They can't do that. They have to go through a hearing process. There have to be notifications that I'm not really involved in or knowledgeable about. But in both cases, they go through a different process, and then our law department has to go to court and get the approval to have a lien to file on the land records, as opposed to me just walking down the hall and filing it. So because of that, that's the first difference. And the second difference is property taxes are not negotiable. So I can't, for example, have a taxpayer come in and say, this is a hardship situation, I can't pay this amount. The appeal process for property taxes happens long before the bill is issued, when they can go to the Board of Assessment Appeals or they can go to Superior Court. But by the time we're at a tax sale situation, the amount is what it is, and we don't get to negotiate. Whereas the blight folks And the zoning folks have more flexibility than I do. So what was happening was they would give me something to collect through sale. I would go through the process, which the tax sale process isn't just like putting a notice in the paper and sending a letter. It's a little more involved than that. And we have to have a title search done. We have to notify everybody who has a lien on the property, the owner, and so forth. Once we go through all that and then they negotiate the amount down, or allow it to be less than it is, it becomes problematic for our division because we don't like the optic of people seeing that the amount has been reduced and other things too. So that was my issue that we had with the 2025 sale. And I think we're going to probably work it out. I don't have any objection to helping other departments collect what's due to them. That's perfectly fine. We're going to have the sale anyway. Let's put it in there. We've been doing that all along with blight. But I think that the process there needs to be a little bit better communication between the departments so we all know what the expectations are. I hope that answers your question. I think you're on mute.
Yes, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Another way to look at it is that
Thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome.
Lisa's job is basically a collection agency. When you can go to when you know how much somebody owes, and the problem with the blight is that there are a number of hearings that you go. Once you get a blight ticket, you go to a hearing for that, and it can go on and on and on until everybody negotiates it. It can go on for a while. So even though you give them this ticket for $100, that's not the amount. So once they finish going through all those appeals, then we say, okay, now we all agree that it's $50 that you're going to pay. Then we go to the collection agency, Lisa, and she collects the money for us.
Yep, that's great. I think we need to figure out how to get these fees for blight and zoning. I'm
Yeah.
just saying.
So I think one of the things that we always wanted to, that I think this committee should be looking at quite often is how do we improve the revenue that the city gets. And there's a lot of things in what, at least what I've said to a couple of members, is that we should be looking at everything where we have revenue, all those revenue numbers that we've got. We should start thinking about how we can utilize some of that revenue and how we maximize some of that revenue that comes in. So if it means that the legal department should get on there, should be spending more time on making sure that those blight tickets that they hand out are good, then we can go ahead. But if their process is slowing this whole thing down, Lisa can't collect the money any faster. Okay. All right. Anybody have any other questions on that? I just had a couple of quick questions on the analysis that you gave us, Lisa. I noticed that we're at 97.3% collection. And I'm looking down at the collection from previous years, and maybe you could just give me some explanation of some of this. If I look at where we are today, if I look at the real estate tax, for example, we have about a little under 2%, 1.8% that's still outstanding. We've only collected 98.18%. So we got 1.8 that's still sitting out there, which is about, I figure about $6 million.
Huh?
Okay.
Yes.
So that 6 million, when does that start to go into prior year? Once we issue the current year? In other words,
July 1st.
okay, so we have to, if we don't move anymore, then that 6 million goes into, let's say nobody pays us anymore, that 6 million then goes into prior years.
It'll
Okay,
be a
and that,
prior year collection next year, but the interest will show on the bottom of the spreadsheet
exactly,
for the
exactly.
interest. Yeah.
So when I'm looking at that prior taxes, that's the sum of all the taxes that you have, the automobile, personal property, real estate. Is that correct?
For the prior years, not the current.
Yeah. For
Prior
prior
years.
years. Yeah, it's all lumped
2023
together.
grand list, 2023 grand list and back. We can
Yeah.
collect for 15 years.
right.
We
Okay,
can
so
collect
that's,
years, yeah.
so that's all lumped together, all the taxes.
It's all lumped together, but going back to your question about the real estate tax, even though we're right now at the end of February, only at 98.18, that
Yeah.
percent is going to go up quite a bit because we
Yeah.
haven't sent delinquent notices yet. We're going to file liens. We're going to work on the tax sale. So you're going to see that amount go up.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, you get to 99%.
Pretty close.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you will get to 99%, right?
We hope so. Well, maybe not 99%, but pretty close.
Yeah. Okay. So, and so some of the other ones, do we get that close? I mean, like the supplementary automobile, is that the MTS or is that,
No. The supplemental is the motor vehicle bills that we issued only in January. So don't forget, we issued
Okay,
them 6 months
got it.
later. That's why
Got
it's
it.
so much lower, right?
Okay.
Motor vehicles tough to collect because people have now a 3-year registration cycle. Some people
Yeah.
pay only when they need to register a car.
Right.
Not much we could
So,
do about that.
right. So then on the other one is the personal property, which is about 25,000,
25
what is it,
million.
28,000 corrected on the corrected levy. And that is running at about 94%,
Mhm.
right? So, and I know that you said that we have, are we going to get to close to 99 on that? Two
No.
questions.
No,
No.
because that is the business personal property tax is for, it's a little bit different than motor vehicle and real estate because
Yeah,
it's
I like the
assessed,
idea of it's the pizza oven in the pizzeria.
it's
that's-
assessed October 1st.
Right.
And then it's not due until the following July and the following January. And unlike motor vehicle taxes, it's not proratable. So if a
Okay.
business leaves or goes
They
belly
still have-
up on October 2nd, that is still a collectible debt and the assessor cannot take it off by certificate. So it's harder to collect. It's more volatile. It's more mobile. We file UCC, Uniform Commercial Code, liens on
Right.
it. We try the health permit issue. We have a marshal that also goes door to door and can seize property. And nail salons, anybody that needs a health permit, we try to take their health permit if they don't pay. But that's probably the toughest tax to collect because we don't, and all tax collectors in Connecticut have the same issue with business personal property. It's really hard to collect.
And so to build up that 28 million,
Mhm.
we also, Paul has audits that are being done out there as well.
Yes.
Okay. And that's where we're going to start to see that number is going to grow. Maybe not, maybe the difficulty in collecting it may not improve, but that number will go up and obviously some people will pay it. So I guess the other thing is that, and maybe I'll ask Paul this when it's his turn, is that we have a process where the health department tells us, and maybe you can't answer this. We have you can check the health department records to find out whether they've got their certificate. But what about other businesses that don't have to go get a health permit? How do we make sure that we've got all those guys? Or is that a Paul question, I guess?
I think it's a Paul question because the assessor's charge is to discover and list and value taxable property, including
Okay.
business personal property. So Paul could chime in, but they are required by law to file a declaration with the assessor every year by November 1st. And if they do not file it, there is a penalty that is levied by the assessor. And when Paul wants to speak up, I'm sure he'll turn his volume on and jump in here.
Okay, we'll hold it off for him.
Okay.
He's next.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
sorry. I was trying to avoid that.
How'd I do, Paul?
You did great. I think I can go home.
No, not so fast. The only other thing was just remind me again, the cannabis money, which is now starting to look like real money. we can only use that where?
As I understand it, Jared would probably speak, but it's very, very limited, places where it can go. It's supposed to go to the community that was, the portions of our community that were most affected by drug abuse and things like that. So my understanding it is I collect it, I turn it over to the finance department, and then they will deal with community services to direct those funds to the
Yeah.
targeted areas.
Yeah, and more right, and more specifically, it goes to, for example, reentry programs into employment. So for prisoners getting out of prison, going into merging back into society. It can go for streetscapes and storefronts. It's a kind of a wide variety. Mental health. It's a variety, but they are specific. They are specifically geared toward certain, mostly social service types of programs.
So it can be for existing programs that the city has.
Yes, it can.
Okay, good. So are we going to use any of that on our operating budget this year?
I think that the community services is still trying to determine how exactly that money is going to get used.
Okay. Good. Miss Edie.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Jared, for that information. Do we have a list of all the ways that the money can be, programs that it goes to? Do we have that?
Yeah, I can get you a list of all the eligible uses for it, for sure.
Great, thank you.
Okay, great. Yeah, that'd be interesting.
And we're taking
Okay.
in about 30,000. It's very consistent. We're collecting about $30,000 a month. We have the 3 dispensaries now. And that information comes to me through Chitsame's office. The state sends it to Chitsame. Chitsame sends it to me. I build the dispensaries, they pay me, and I turn it over to the city.
Do they pay you cash?
They pay me by check.
Okay. All right. Okay, is there anybody have any more questions for Ms. Biagirelli? Okay, thank you very much, Lisa. It's nice to see you again.
Nice to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Next up, we have Paul Gorman. We've already set the table for you to tell us how we can make some more money for our grand list. Do you want to give us an update on the grand list, Paul? Paul, are you still
When
there?
you say an update on the grand list, what do you mean? Yeah, I'm here. Can you?
Yeah,
me?
I can hear you. I meant, has there been any changes? And
Okay.
is there anything that we should know about that might increase it, or have you found any other sources of value that we should include in that? We had a brief conversation about when properties go off abatement and how you've got to phase it in. You and I have a disagreement about that. I still have to talk to a few attorneys about that. I personally don't believe that we have to phase it in, but I think we have to prove it to some attorney to get them to go along with it. But so that's for the time being, we'll disagree on it. But are there any other places that we might have, overlooked, or maybe give us some ideas as to how do you know that we got everything that we should have? I mean, is there any audits that can be done? Is there, how do we know that if there's a new house that was really built that we included that? I guess just educate us a little bit on that.
Sure. When it comes to real estate and the example you just gave, I mean, we self-audit because we get all the permits from Bill Ireland's group down in code enforcement, or otherwise known as the building department. And we
Right.
keep track of it that way. And I mean, but that's just a rolling list of, depending upon how long they take to build. So they come onto the grand list. I'll just make up an example. Let's say somebody started building a brand new $5 million house down on Wilson Point in July of last year. Well, on October 1st, if they were 30% done, we would pick up 30% of the value. And then whenever they were completed, the final portion of that would get prorated on at the date and time, appropriate time that it was completed. So if it was a $5 million house and was 30% complete, we'd have 1.5 million on it for October 1. And if it got completed by April 1st of the following year, the other 3.5 million would get prorated on for a half year. And this is a non-phase-in example. Like we said, whether we agree or disagree about how to do the assessment changes for construction during a phase-in, it's just more complicated either way. But in a normal situation, that 3.5 million, we would pick up 1.75 million of it for the remainder of the current tax year, and then it would be there full on the following tax year. And the same thing goes for commercial. I mean, I'll use the new apartment building that went up on the Y on October 1st. I think it was about 85% complete. And I was just on the phone with Bill Ireland, and they have gotten their final CO. So they'll be being prorated on for the remainder of their value for the current year. Unfortunately, they probably for October of 2026 will be applying to be put onto the enterprise zone program, and anything that we gain this year will be gone for the better part of the next 2 years due to the enterprise zone program. And then we'll start getting some of it back over the next 5 years. As far as other ways that we can try to raise money and keep track of things, like we talked about over the last couple of months with the personal property audits, everything's signed, sealed, and delivered now on that. So Chuck Feldman's on the case, and we are starting to send out letters next week for this current batch. So we should have results of those audits by the end of June. And then, provided that everything goes smoothly and we renew for the second year of the agreement that we all talked about, we would move forward with Chuck to start another batch during fiscal year 27. But you have to remember one thing about personal property. Yes, we may find a lot of things, and over the years, there was 1 year where Chuck found us over $2 million worth of things, but last year was only $58,000. It does keep giving year after year as long as the business stays in business, as Lisa described. I mean, a person can go out of business the day after October 1st, and they're still going to get a bill for the full amount, but it may not be collectible. But overall, personal property is a net depreciating asset to the city, because unless new businesses come in or the people that are already here buy new equipment, they depreciate every year until they get down to a residual value of 30%. Nothing goes to zero. It's not like your tax return where you can just write it off down to zero. There'll always be a net 30% of all your equipment after a certain number of years that it's been on the personal property list. So we can try to find where people are being completely honest, or like there are also some businesses that just don't realize how to fill out the form properly, and that's where the audits do come in. On the
How do we
motor
select
vehicle side of things, we've been.
Before you leave the
I'm
property,
sorry, go ahead.
how do you know how do you know where to start the audits that you're going to do? I mean, are they we have that one mechanism where you can take a look at the health permits that are issued, and if they should all be issuing, if they're restaurants, they should all be issuing. They should tell us about what kind of personal property they have. if it's a grocery store, if it's a whatever it is, that needs a health permit, that's an easy way to figure out, that they owe us something, that they probably owe us something. What about something that's a service company that has computer equipment, like a consultant?
Well, on the personal property declaration, so Chuck, our auditor, Neil Binder, the person in my office that processes all the personal property declarations as they come in, and myself, we review what comes in and we mark ones that we think seem to be shy for what they're saying, because the personal property declarations don't just tell us what equipment they have, but it tells us other things about their business, like what they do, how many people they have, how many square feet do they have. And we use all that information to say, okay, this person saying that they have 15,000 square feet, they have 300 employees, but they're only claiming $10,000 worth of computers. Well, something like that would stick out like a red flag, because it wouldn't make sense that they'd only have $10,000 of computer equipment for 300 employees, unless they were using all secondhand equipment.
So
And that's
what is
those
it
are the
that-
kind of things.
So what is it you're looking at that you get this information from?
The personal property declaration that they send to us every
What
October.
if they don't? But what if they don't send one?
Then if we know about the business and they don't file, we estimate what we think they should have, and they
Got
also
that.
get charged a penalty for non-filing.
I'm not trying to
So if it's a
cross-examine you.
restaurant-
I'm not trying to cross-examine you, but how do they know? How do they know what they don't know? I mean, if I have a small business and I decide not to send that personal property declaration in, you'd never know. How do
Yes,
we
would,
know that we're
because
getting all the?
we know you have a restaurant.
Well, the restaurant's easy
That's our
because I can
job.
go to the health department and check. But if I've got an office full of lawyers that have big computers sitting on the desk, and I choose not to send the personal property declaration in, how are we going to find that? Or I'm not saying
Because
it's your
they
fault. I mean, how could we find
take
it?
out
Or we could-
permits
They take out
because they
permits?
take out permits to be able to fit out this. They take out permits to fit out the spaces that they're occupying. We don't find out about
And
the
so-
restaurants
so-
after the
so
fact because they
then-
apply for a health license. Jim, hold on a second. Let me just finish the train of
Go
thought,
ahead.
please.
Go ahead.
The health department certificate, it's not our form of discovery. Somebody puts in a new restaurant, we know about it the minute that they want to put in a new restaurant, because they take out a permit to say, on Washington Street, we're going to be renovating these 3,000 square feet into a 250 seat restaurant. That's when we first find out about it. The health department thing is long down the line.
But if I was opening an office full of lawyers and had a lot of computer equipment, you would not necessarily know that.
Yeah, we probably would find you sooner or later, because if you had that many lawyers and you were setting up shop, you would be advertising. We'd see your advertising at some point. We go out into the city, and I have people that drive around and check the storefronts. We check all the strip malls. If it's a lawyer setting up shop in his house and he's using 2/3 of his house to have his lawyers work in it, and they take no permits, yeah, it may take a while for us to find it, but there's no way. Just like if I'll give you an example from the real estate side of things. Somebody finishes their basement without a permit, there's no way for me to know that. And I can't solve that other than if all of a sudden they go to sell their house and I find out about it. Same thing with the example you're giving. Yeah, there's going to probably be some businesses that slip by because there's just no way to know if somebody's being sneaky and underhanded and doing a good job of it. But we do the best that we can by, like I said, we study advertising, we drive around the city, we watch all the permits for tenant fit outs. Everything gets watched and scrutinized. And then the ones that do file, we scrutinize those returns to make sure that the amount that they're putting on their returns makes sense with the type of business that they claim they have.
Yeah, I was looking for maybe something a little bit more scientific than driving around town looking at, at storefronts.
I just want,
I don't understand
can I
what
make
you
an,
mean.
Paul, I just want to make a quick analogy. We can have all the preventive measures in place that we want. We can have all the enforcement that we want. There's always going to be stuff that gets by. It's if somebody wants to break the law, just like any other crime, just like a crime, people commit crimes every day, and we don't always catch those people, and we don't always prevent everything. But we have in place a lot of measures to be able to catch a lot of this. And I think to be able to go after 100% and get it all, at some point it becomes too onerous, and it's not you're not going to have an efficient operation to be able to conduct the business that we want to.
I don't disagree with you. You're not going to catch everybody. There's a lot of cooks out there that are going to get away with it. But when you explain to me that you have somebody driving around looking at storefronts, that doesn't sound like a very, it doesn't sound like a very productive way of analyzing this. And I don't know the answers because I'm not an assessor and I haven't done this work. But I'm just, I've seen enough businesses where we have controls that are that and the other analysis that we can do to run some metrics that might indicate to us that a business is not giving us everything they can. And I think Paul, you're alluding to that, saying that I know that a law firm with 10 lawyers is going to have X number of personal property. Mr. Sawyer, you have your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. That driving around town, that actually works. From the fire side, legal departments, businesses that you didn't see last week, they're open today. So I'm not against that if you have the staff to do that. I think that the departments, from my experience when I was in the fire marshal's office, work well together. If we find something, we pass it on to building, to health, to the tax assessor, to the tax collector. Everybody gets involved in the solution. Some of the departments just take a little bit longer, like the 30-day cease and desist, I believe, from P&Z, where the fire marshal's office is more immediate. So I can see where Mr. Gorman's coming from. That there's a lot of different moving parts to catching these folks, and you're not going to get all of them. But from my experience, I think Norwalk, just speaking from my experience, does well with the communication to catch what we can, and when we can, we all work together. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Broderick.
Lopez.
Thank you, Chair. Paul, quick question. I mean, do you guys have like a working list? I just jotted some notes, like a working list of different variables that can be used, or different factors that can be used, or indicators that can be used to track to be able to identify these people. I mean, whether it's just, let's say, I think you mentioned permit records, lease agreements, maybe something like utility related, water, sewer, gas. The question is pretty much, you have a working list that you can use to identify some of these folks.
Well, the biggest list that we have is the permit, because most of the business coming into the town have to retrofit the areas that they're going into. Most places are not conducive to one business leaving and another business coming in and just taking over the spot. So the permits are the big thing. In a case where somebody can just move in because it was a law office and now it's a different law office, we usually find out about that because we send out a bill to the old law office. They say that they're not there any longer, and then we go and check to see who's there. I mean, it's just, I mean, it's like Broderick said, it's a lot of research, and it's every town and city in the state of Connecticut that does it the way that we're doing it. I didn't come up with this way myself. This is the way that I was taught for the last 20 years. And they do it in Westport, they do it in Trumbull, they do it in Hartford. Other ways that we do things, I mean, because Jim, you had mentioned about you didn't think it was very efficient. We don't just go to like the strip malls and everything. We also go to the office buildings, like a Merit up on the Merit through 1 through 6 buildings, and you go into buildings like that. And you take a look at their board in the lobby of who's in there, and you take pictures of it, and then you bring it back to the office and you compare and contrast it to the current list to see if you have all those people that are on that list. And if there's not, you send them out a package.
Okay, so it's like
But
property
it's
inspection.
a lot of work.
Like essentially like a
Yeah.
property inspection, kind of. That's pretty much what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a very long, involved process. And I mean, but you just hope that the majority of the people that are operating within the city limits are going to be honest about it. Because like Jared said, there's no way to guarantee that you're going to ever get everything, because I'll use a IT analogy. Every time that they think they've gotten better than the hackers are another step ahead of them. And if people want to try to find a way, they'll find a way, at least for a little while, but we catch a lot of them.
Got it. Thanks, Paul. Yeah, as long as you guys keep trying to think creatively on, yeah, but no, I appreciate that. Appreciate the answer. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Last
So
question,
going back to what
Mr.
we were talking
Sawyer.
about.
Ready?
I'm sorry, Paul. Mr.
Go
Sawyer,
ahead.
you had another
Okay.
question?
Real quick, some of the information we used, looking for businesses, as fire marshal was on ct.gov. There's a business register, and you can just put whatever you want in there, businesses in Norwalk, Connecticut. And you can find where some of these businesses are. That was another resource we used as well, Mr. Gorman. Just wanted to let you know.
Yeah, no, we go to the Secretary of State website. We get information from the town clerk's office when people register an LLC in town. I mean,
Gotcha.
we have information coming to us from multiple sides.
By whatever means necessary. Okay, thank you.
Yep. But
Okay.
I mean, in the long run, like Lisa said, sometimes these businesses fail within 6 months, and they're not there to pay the bill when the bill actually gets sent to them.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Gorman?
I didn't finish telling you everything. If you give me if I could have a couple more
I
minutes.
thought we were on that. I thought that I wanted to move on to your next point. So go ahead.
Oh, okay.
You had something else to add, Paul?
Well, no, I was just gonna continue my narrative.
Okay. What do you want to
Which
add to that? Fine.
so we could we could jump ahead to the next step. The next thing that I was going to bring up is that I received information from Municipal Tax Service, otherwise known as MTS. They're the ones doing the audit of all the automobiles in the city. And starting at I think it was the second week of February, they started issuing the letters from the street sweeps that they did. There's just shy of 1,400 cars that were identified. So 1,400 letters went out for possible tax implication. The people and they're rolling them out in batches. So they haven't. I think the last set will be out by the end of this month. And when you receive the letter, you have 30 days to respond with evidence of whether or not you should or should not be taxed. And then they make a determination of if what you provided is good enough to close the case. So those 1,300 plus accounts could lead to as many as 3 years per letter to be adding to the grand list, depending upon what information the MTS people found as they did their research. We should probably have a billing file by the middle of April for the first batch of the letters that went out at the beginning of February. So their 30 days are expiring in the next week or so. And so that should be some nice added income on the motor vehicle side of things. And that's going to be a continuous stream where they keep going after they get this first set of letters out based on the previous sweeps. Over the summer, they'll start the next set of sweeps, provided that we go with year 2 with them.
So what are your estimates on revenue?
That we don't have yet. They have not provided me with that yet because right now they're simply in the, I'll use you as an example, Jim. They would send you a letter saying, "Dear Mr. Frayer, this motor vehicle was spotted, blah, blah, blah. We believe that you may have a tax obligation to the city of Norwalk for the 23, 24, and 25 grand list year. If you do not believe this to be true, please contact our office and let us know." So they haven't run numbers because they're not going to run numbers to when they don't know how many of the cases are going to actually hold up.
But based on, based on prior numbers and experience that we have, do you have a gut feeling for how much we might be looking at?
No, because this is the first set of letters that are going out off of the sweeping of the city. The prior ones that we did back over the summer were simply the data mine from people who had lapse registrations where they were active in 22, not active in 23, and active in 24. So we added them for 23 because they were in Norwalk, both like on either end. So no, we don't have any experience to go off of for what we're going to be doing with this next batch. But by time, probably not for April, but for May, I should be able to have some hard numbers for you because all of the letters will have expired their 30 days.
Okay, good.
And so all the cases should be decided by then.
Okay. Mr. Dellinger, you have a question?
No, it's just interesting. You caught my attention with this one. I've heard a lot of people complain about out of state licenses. This identifies out of state licenses in Norwalk and sends them letters. And is this relatively new or has it been going on for a long time? Your program?
No, the program just started last summer. We just signed or last spring, I should say. It started last spring. So this is our first time through it. As I stated a couple minutes ago, the first step was where they just audited our last 3 years of grand list to make sure that there were no gaps that could be filled. And that led to about $153,000 in billing, which I believe, if Lisa's still on, she could probably give you a better number, but it was just shy of $100,000 of it that we kept. And this will produce more because that was only 400 bills. This is potential for somewhere in between 1,300 and 3,900 bills, depending upon how many years each car is eligible for. So it could be a significant number, but until we start seeing how people are responding and giving their answers to whether or not they should be taxed. And it sometimes takes a while to come to a conclusion. I mean, there was a woman that I was working with today that it's been 2 weeks of going back and forth with her, where it turns out she does have a tax obligation and she grudgingly accepted it, but she has a car that she registered in New York for her mother so that her mother could come from New York to Connecticut to take care of her kids. But what she failed to mention, but she did mention to me today, is that usually the mother spends the entire week here and then goes home on the weekends. So her car, as per state of Connecticut DMV rules, where does the car most commonly leave from and return to? If that is the Norwalk address, it is taxable in Norwalk. And so she'll be being charged taxes through the personal property system as an unregistered motor vehicle. And I think there were about 40 identified out-of-state plates so far that have accepted the tax liability with MTS. So they're picking up those.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think well, Lisa just raised her hand, so maybe you can comment. I was going to say it's about $125,000 that we got from the first go around on this. Is that what you were going to mention, Lisa?
Yes, we collected
See,
125.
I read those reports.
I appreciate that very much. And we retained of that nearly 69,000. So
Right.
that's what came into our coffers that we were able to keep.
Yeah.
But that
Right,
was
but
only the
Lisa-
first round.
Do,
Right.
do you, Lisa, do you have what the total billing was though?
Yes.
Was I remembering correctly that it's about $150?
Yeah, 143, 440, 77.
Okay.
143,000. Yes, correct. 528 bills.
Then we had to pay $50 to MTS.
No, the taxpayer pays that. That's a pass-through fee. We charge
Oh, yeah,
them the
yeah, yeah.
tax.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yes,
That's
yes,
an
yes.
extra
You're
fee
right.
that we added.
Yeah, yeah, no, you're right. You're right. You're right. Okay. Okay, Paul, is any other good
All right.
things?
Well, we're continuing to take in the applications for the elderly and disabled homeowners program. So please make sure your constituents know about it if they're over 65 years of age or Social Security disabled. If they haven't been on the program before and they think they might qualify, they can call us to check it out. All we need is for them to have completed their 2025 tax return to be able to determine their eligibility. And then one other thing that's big going on
And
right
just
now
quick-
is that the
just-
Board of Assessment Appeals. Sure.
I was just quickly is that what is the criteria for that again? It's over 65. It's you can't
Over
have
65, been a taxpayer for
income.
5 years, and the income can't exceed 76,500.
Okay. And the cutoff date for that is what?
May 15th, unless you've applied for an extension through the IRS for extending your filing period. If you've done that, or if you have medical concerns, you can apply to OPM for an extension for the filing period.
Great. Perfect. Ms. Edie, you have a
Okay.
comment?
Yes, thank you, Chair. That's exactly what I wanted to ask Mr. Paul about. Thank you so much. I just wanted to know, how is it going? Are people signing up?
Yes. Every year. I mean, unfortunately, we lose some people either to
Mhm.
natural causes, shall we say, or
Yeah.
to they move.
Mhm.
But we get new people every year. I don't know how many new people requested packages this year, but I think it was probably in the neighborhood between 50 and 75 new people asked for packages this year, on top of the 500 or so that are due to renew this year.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, it's going well.
Great. So it's a package they have to fill out. Oh,
Right. It's just some documents and giving us your tax return.
okay. I'm going to ask you if you could just, I have the brochure, but I don't know if the brochure.
I can send you the applications if you want to see them.
Because someone
I'll send them to Jim, and then he can send it out to the group.
Okay, great. Thanks
How's
so
that?
much. Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
No problem. Okay, any other questions for Mr. Gorman? Well, thanks very
If not,
much,
I have
Paul.
one more thing to throw in.
Oh, okay.
Well, I've got one more important thing. Sorry, I'm so verbose this month.
Not trying to get rid of you.
We also have the Board of Assessment Appeals going on right now. We had 70 people apply. Ultimately 70 people ended up staying applied and doing appeals that are ongoing right now. And we had 15 business entities that were denied due to being over the $2 million limit for the BAA to hear. So, but we also had a number of cancels, and that's so on February 6th, I had knee surgery right after the letters had gone out to the homeowners about being able to apply for the BAA. So as the BAA applications came in while I was home working, I started making phone calls because unfortunately there was a lot of people who applied, but they were applying simply because of the phase-in. So I called and I probably made 50 or 60 phone calls where I was just having a nice conversation with the people and explaining to them what they can appeal and what they can't appeal, and explaining that if their only concern was the fact that their assessment was going up $20,000 because of the phase-in, that was something that the BAA couldn't give them relief from, because a lot of the people that were applying appeared from the conversations that they were elderly and under stress from the taxes, and they were scared by the assessment going up. And that was another opportunity for me to advertise the program as well. But I probably was able to lessen the load. If I hadn't made the phone calls, that 70 appeals probably would have been around 100, 110. And I also feel as though that with what I did, and it's a thing that I feel strongly about, is educating the people about not just the BAA process, but the whole assessment process as a whole. So that was one of the main targets that I had for the time that I was working from home, was working on that.
I think
And
that's really
again, in
important.
May, we'll probably in May, we'll have some firm numbers on what was given away by the BAA this year.
I think that's important that we keep people advised as to what's going on with that. Because you're right, so many people really don't know what's going on in the city. And you hear and rumors start to float around about this and that, and nobody knows what the real story is. I'm not going to cut you
Well,
off
I
again,
tried to
Paul. Is
give
there
it
anything
to-
else you want to share with us?
No, I think that was it. Unless anybody has
Okay,
any
good.
other questions.
We'll leave
No.
maybe abatements we can talk about in at a future meeting.
Right. I mean, Jared can talk about that a little bit, but we're still working on the spreadsheet that we talked about last month. We're closing in on finalization.
And I'm
Yeah.
not even going to go there now. Not going to go there now.
Next month, Jim.
All right,
We'll have
thank
that. We'll have it ready to go next month. We're
Can't
like
wait.
Paul
I
said, we're
just
just putting the final touches on it.
I just can't wait. Okay, thanks
It's
a lot,
gonna-
Paul. I appreciate
It's
it.
going to be beautiful.
It is going to be. It actually is going to be beautiful. It's a very good story.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's move on to there's no old business, on to new business. We have a couple of items that we have to vote on. First one is a resolution to authorize a special appropriation for transportation mobility parking department in the amount of $400,000 for the Gregory Boulevard roundabout project from the municipal grant and funding account so noted. And then we have Ben Young with us from TMP to explain a little about one of my favorite subjects, which is roundabouts at Gregory Boulevard. And I can't think of a better place to put one, really. Well, maybe I could think of a couple of places. But Ben, you want to just walk us through this quickly?
Thank you, Councilman Frere. So I'll keep the project description brief. I know it's late and you guys have the memo which outlines some of the issues here. But this is a very exciting project that we've already begun. We already have a feasibility study and a preliminary concept. So we're progressing well on this. And so the item that's before you tonight is for authorization of continuing planning and design funds. And we were very fortunate to get this this $400,000 from the same municipal grant and aid program secured by Bob Duff. So the project is at the intersection of Gregory Boulevard, Marvin Street, and Fifth Street. So this is in East Norwalk, right by what's called Ludlow Park, if you've ever been there. It's a lovely Norwalk City park with pickleball courts and softball courts right in the middle of the residential neighborhood. There's this monument in the middle of the traffic circle there. It's for Roger Ludlow, I believe one of the original founders of Norwalk, or one of the original settlers anyway. And our project is to upgrade the existing traffic circle, which although some people may call it a roundabout, we think of it as sort of a non-standard circular intersection. It doesn't quite meet some of um, the latest design criteria for modern roundabouts in terms of horizontal deflection to decrease vehicle speeds. Going through this circle today, you actually have to yield as you're coming around the circle, which is not standard as well. And that fact has actually confused a lot of drivers and has been a source of various customer service requests to the Department of Transportation here that we're trying to address through this project. Furthermore, with the same package here, we're also seeking to address some issues along Fifth Street. The residents of Fifth Street have come to our department many times over the years to ask about issues of speeding, cut through traffic, especially during beach season. There's a lot of visitors, probably from other parts of Norwalk, South Norwalk. They're coming, from Vets Park, and they just kind of cut through the residential streets, Cove Avenue, Fifth Street, to get to Calf Pasture. So they see a lot of traffic, and some of that traffic happens to be going quite fast. So what we're trying to do here is implement some traffic calming in a form to be determined. Could be a raised intersection, could be a chicane, which is sort of a deflection again horizontally, which could be done with parking or with curbs. And we're hopeful that what we can do to really transform this street is to implement a shared use path along the entirety of Fifth Street. So probably the south side. And what we mean by that is a 10-foot wide sidewalk, essentially, that would serve both cyclists and pedestrians. And this would be part of the NRVT. It's already signed or indicated as part of the Norwalk River Valley Trail. And this would really just be a lovely upgrade to the trail for cyclists going to and from the beach. And the final piece of this is all around Ludlow Park. We want to upgrade the pedestrian crossings to and from the park. Right now, there's a kind of a distinct lack of crosswalks. There's only one cutting across Gregory Boulevard. So we've heard from the neighborhood. We want more crosswalks to get from some of the residential side streets, and also from Marvin Elementary, where a lot of people park. There is a crosswalk with a signal, but it's a little out of the way. So we want to have a direct path along the desire line that pedestrians go from the parking lot to the park. And we may even, we're entertaining ideas to implement like a raised crosswalk or something along across Calf Pasture Beach Road. So a lot of exciting things that will be refined in the planning study. We're looking to go out to the public with our preliminary design later this year, and these design funds will unlock the ability for us to continue this project.
Thank you, Ben.
Yes.
Mr. Dellinger?
Thanks, Jim.
Oh, well, yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't get a motion on this yet. So somebody want to move this? Ms. Edie moves the motion. Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rich.
No problem. Thanks, Ben. I guess I drive down to Calf Pasture a lot. I want you to repeat what you said about the bike path on the south side. You're saying it would be a widened a sidewalk instead of having the bikers on the road, or is that what you're
Yeah.
using?
So that's for Fifth Street. So Fifth Street between
Oh.
Cove Avenue and Gregory Boulevard. There are sidewalks along Fifth Street right now on both sides.
Right.
We would seek to extend the curb probably out into the street a little bit to give a little more room for a widened sidewalk. Right now, if you're biking, you would have to be in the street, and this would allow you know bicyclists of all ages, especially we're thinking about children, going to and from the park from other parts of the neighborhood.
Yeah, I got it now. So, and I just want to be clear. I mean, this $400,000, it's all state and federal money, from what I understand.
This is all state. This is a state appropriation.
And what for the five? I couldn't quite. I read the thing. I know the area, but what exactly are we getting for that 400,000 for this? I mean, it's just the design. This is not about construction.
Yeah. So the right now, and actually we'll probably be going to council with this next month. We have a design proposal from our consultant on this for $350,000 total. Some of that has already been used for the preliminary design and feasibility study. So this $400,000 should be actually more than enough to take us through the completion of design, including 100% design plans, shovel-ready design plans. And although the 400,000 is probably not going to be enough to cover construction funds, we're hopeful that with the completion of shovel-ready design plans, it'll be very easy for us to take that and apply for more state or federal grant funding so that we can bring this project to fruition. I do have a note in there. We have secured some federal funding for construction, 850,000 in a federal earmark from Congressman Jim Himes. So we have a start on the construction funding already, but we just we'll probably need a little bit more by the end of design. So that's where we stand.
And last question. So the stop signs currently on, I think it's is it Gregory maybe and Fifth, they would go out of this. There would be no more stop signs. This would just be a true roundabout.
So ultimately, yeah, with the completion of the modern roundabout design, all traffic entering the circular area would yield on entry.
Thanks. Got it.
Ms. Edie?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Ben, for your presentation. I think Mr. Dellinger asked my question, one of my questions about the $400,000 is for a study and not construction.
That's correct. Yeah, as I was saying, we're actually projecting that the full design might only be about 350,000. So whatever funds, surplus funds that we have from this 400,000 could be shifted to construction ultimately as well.
Okay. When you say roundabout, you're talking about where the tree was, where it was not right there.
Not that I think you're talking about Cemetery Circle.
Yeah.
So this is not the circle by the cemetery. This is by Ludlow Park, which is a little further down, closer to the beach.
Oh, farther down. Okay.
Yeah, when you go.
Okay, because I was going to ask you, because I was going to say, didn't we already study that area? That the bike lanes and the new parking and the new sidewalks coming in. We didn't.
Yeah.
So that's a different area.
That's a different area, and actually, the state project for that is kicking off very soon. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Lopez.
Thanks, Sherry. Thanks, Ben. Ben, quick question. Did this project require a full design or could simpler traffic calming measures have been used?
So you're talking about just kind of using like tactical traffic calming things
well,
like
in a
speed
sense,
bumps.
Like, any sort of like simpler
humps.
alternatives were they considered instead of a complete full redesign?
So not to my knowledge, and we're trying to do something that will last a long time. Obviously, there may be things that could have been done on a more temporary basis to address the speeding issues, but we want to do something that will not only address the traffic calming and the speeding issues, but also help to really beautify the neighborhood and do something with a lot of the empty pavement in that traffic circle. And this also is a good opportunity for us to upgrade the NRVT as well. Which
Okay,
is
so
a
yeah, so
point
it
of the
sounds like
fifth
this
report.
proposal, the plan is a lot more, where the new design, it's a lot more robust than just using simpler traffic calming measure. Like the goal is something much more comprehensive.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I haven't been with this from the very beginning, but as I understand it, it started with the idea for a modern roundabout, and as we heard the issues from nearby residents, such as Fifth Street, we added on to this project because they're very close to each other, they're right next to each other, and we could tackle, we could basically kill two birds with one stone.
Cool, got it. Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Ms. Edie, you want another comment?
I do. Thank you.
Go ahead.
What is the timeline of the study, Ben?
So at this time, we don't have like a hard deadline to complete the study, but we're going to get started. I mean, we've already gotten some of the preliminary work done, and we'll just continue that as soon as we have our consultant back under contract with, the with an amendment, probably by the end of next month, April 2026, and we're looking to go out to the public, have a public information meeting, and solicit feedback probably later this year. I would aim for late summer to early fall for that public meeting, and design would continue probably through spring 2027, and then be completed, and we'll have that shovel-ready plan by then.
Okay, so my next question is sounding like that's going to take a while. Since we've already identified the problem for Fifth Street, that we need traffic calming things there, can't we work on that right now temporarily, because the summer's coming and the residents we've heard from the residents that that's a problem. So can't we do something temporarily till the study's done to help them through this summer season?
That's something that can certainly be discussed. I know the police are also aware of the issue. Between us and the police, something that we could look to implement is temporary speed radar signs. So those signs that flash what speed you're going at, you put them right next to the speed limit sign, so people know that they're either meeting the speed limit or they're going way too fast. So we could think about measures like that.
Yeah, if you could keep me posted on that, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Let me just jump on that too. I think I got a note from somebody that said that this was a dumb idea, which is not the first notice I've gotten telling me that these ideas are dumb. But they said, this is a dumb idea. Why don't we just put 2 stop signs in? How do you answer that, Ben?
So
With a straight face. With a straight face.
Well, I think that, like I was saying before, this is more than just, addressing traffic operations. First of all, we have this very historic monument for Roger Ludlow right in the center of this intersection. We don't want to move that. We still want to make it kind of the centerpiece of the intersection. Also, it's a very notable kind of gateway to the neighborhood. So, we could really tighten up the intersection. I could imagine that, but then, that thrusts the monument into some weird corner. And it would also just not be as good for traffic flow. A roundabout has been shown to be able to handle much higher capacities of traffic volumes than an all-way stop controlled intersection. And that's very important with some of the summer traffic, especially the high surges of traffic after special events at the beach, like the fireworks. So,
Well, I'm a believer, so you don't have to convince me. Mr. Sawyer, you have a comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hi, Ben.
Hi.
Question: the 400K is for the study, so Mr. Himes was able to get 850. Are you going to be coming back to us for additional funding for this project?
So It is possible that come construction time, we may be coming back with another item for funding for construction. But it's our goal to get as much of this project funded using state grant funds or federal grant funds. So in all likelihood, it would just be an authorization to use the grant funding, which is the same as what this item is. It's just an authorization to use state funding.
Copy that. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you much, Ben. Okay, next item on the list is relating to school, to Board of Education. Authorized purchasing agent to issue a purchase order for Power School Group LLC for student information system for an amount not to exceed $241,811.96. Account so noted. And you know what? I think, can I read all of these together? Good. C, authorized purchasing agent to issue a purchase order for ClassLink Inc. for the application portal for an amount not to exceed $47,918.60. Accounts so noted. And then finally, authorize the purchasing agent to issue purchase order to CDW Government for Stu Google Workspace licensing for an amount not to exceed $61,506. Account so noted. Do I have a motion to move this item?
I'll make a motion.
Mr. Dellinger moves the items. So we have with us tonight Ralph Valenzini.
Yes.
Zizi.
Yeah, Ralph Valenzini,
And,
but yes, Ralph, please.
And I got it. So why don't you give us a rundown on what these are?
Sure, and I can explain all three of them together because it's part of our system and technology infrastructure of the way that we function. The first one that you're hearing about is our Power School. That's our student information system. So that's really the central hub of all the information we have for students. So whether it's report cards, grades, a form of communication, it's actually think of it as almost like your Munis server, basically for finance. It's very, very similar to that. It's really the Bible. It's where we go to. The ClassLink is actually the security mechanism of getting things in and out of there. It's our SSO to be able to kind of make the functioning work together. And then if you think about just the infrastructure of, what used to be considered traditional desks and chalkboards, that is our Google Workspace. That is actually our digital infrastructure where kids actually able to work with teachers and be able to function back and forth, whether it's their learning management systems, their tools that they have, all of the tools that you normally see with Google and stuff in a safe, secure environment for the students. So all three of them together really help to form what we call our digital infrastructure for instruction and for our students. I can get into detail on any one of them, but I figured that may be the easiest way to explain it.
Okay, so these are all linked together.
Yes, yeah, we do need all of them.
They're all interactive, in other words.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Dellinger, you have a comment, question?
As an administrator and an educator who's used PowerSchool for many, many, many years and Google, I understand the importance of it and their quality programs. I get it. I'm just curious, why is this why does it not go through the Board of Ed budget? Why is it coming through the city side?
To be honest, I mean, some things like textbooks and stuff seem to be traditionally coming through these capital funds as well too. We do consider this digital infrastructure, to be able to help support our students. So, in many ways, this isn't the first time these are coming up. It may be for the SSO, but for the others, it's not. But we consider it infrastructure, and I think many systems are now doing the same thing.
And I would take it that PowerSchool's primarily the system used across the state, country? I mean, it's
So we have 169 districts, and I would say I think it's 144 use PowerSchool.
yeah.
Yeah.
And Google, same, I would say maybe even higher.
It's moving that way. Off a lot of districts, we we moved away from Office. We have Office licensing for certain things, like, I mean, obviously finance and other places, but we've moved to a Google environment a while ago, and it is predominantly in K-12 education. It's what most of us use.
Great. It's a great tool. Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, definitely. We rely on it.
Yeah, that's a good question. Why is this on the city side? Is this part of the capital budget from last year?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, obviously these are in the budget, but
Yeah, it is a
So was-
capital. It is a capital item.
yeah.
Both.
But is this one of those items that was in the capital budget, but we're moving to operating budget in subsequent years?
No.
Not that I know.
Yeah, it makes sense that it would
No.
be capital, so it is systems related.
Yeah.
So I guess why are we looking at it from the city side? Why isn't the Board of Education paying for this? It's a
The
question
Board
for
of
you.
the Board of Ed doesn't pay for capital items.
That's true. Yeah,
We
forgot.
all of it's
that's right,
done.
that's right.
It's all done
That's
under
true.
the city's borrowing authority.
I'm sorry, you're right.
And these are so the funds have already been authorized.
Yeah,
These are agreements that are being authorized here,
yeah.
not the authorization of the funds. That was already done.
No, that was done already.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody have any other questions? Comments?
Just thanks for
Okay.
waiting so long. I know it's been a long night.
No, it's perfectly fine. It's a long night for everybody. It's a long night for you guys too. We've all been through it, so.
Okay, all those in favor? Okay, that looks unanimous. Okay, great. Thank you.
Great, thanks.
And thank
Have a
you
good
all
night.
for coming, and I hope you enjoyed yourself tonight.
Yeah, no, actually, I learned a little bit too. So, especially around taxes. So I was, it was very, very interesting. Thank you so much. Have a good night, guys.
All right, thanks. All right. Last couple of items. E, authorized special appropriation for Department of Public Works in the amount of $94,500 for snow and ice removal supplies due to recent severe snowstorms from the municipal grant and aid funding account, so noted. Since these are all really related to the snowstorms, I'm going to read them together, if you don't mind. Authorize a special appropriation for Department of Public Works in the amount of $70,000 for fleet maintenance overtime due to recent severe snowstorms from the municipal grant and aid funding account, so noted. Authorize a special appropriation for Department of Public Works in the amount of $557,000 for operations overtime due to the recent severe snowstorms from municipal grant and aid funding account, so noted. And then finally, authorize a special appropriation for the Department of Public Works in the amount of $60,000 for Parks and Rec overtime due to the recent severe snowstorms from the municipal aid grant and aid accounts, so noted. We have Ms. Valadares with us from DPW, and this will probably be the last time she'll ever talk to me for having her stay till the middle of the night. So,
Can I move the item, Chair?
yes, you may. Thank you very much. Ms. Edie moves the item.
Good evening, everyone. I'll always continue talking with you, Mr. Chairman. Don't worry about it. So here we are after this major winter that we weren't expecting, and of course, not budgeting for it. So we are in the red on all our overtime accounts, salt accounts, and and the other two is fleet and recs and parks. The reason for those is that they are also coming for overtime during major storms. I think that a lot of people do not realize, but we do have all the mechanics at the shop during a storm because there's a lot of issues with the equipment, with the trucks. So we need to have them work on it so we can get the trucks back out. And recreation and parks are responsible for plowing the sidewalks along City Hall and also adjacent to the schools. So that's why they have been also working on overtime. Unfortunately, this year we had, I believe, 13 storms. And I think that every single one of them decided to start over the weekend or on a major holiday. So that also helped increase our OT. And another thing is that why the numbers are also a little bit higher this year that we are in the red is that there was a labor negotiation contract that was effective. What changed the rates for the overtime for all the 2405 union labors, and that was like one of the reasons why there is an increase. So between the amount of storms that we had, the length, the day of the week that we have to ask the guys to work, the fact that we kept a lot of very low temperatures after the storm, we still need to bring them again on the following day to make sure that we're salting the roads and prepping the schools before the kids arrive. So all that ended up adding up, and that's why we are requesting the extra money. One good thing, although I think that today, I don't know, we had a little bit of a snow showers, we are not expecting more further storms for the year. So this is the request to pretty much wrap up our winter operations.
And I'd like to say thank you very much. And I think we said this a couple of times. I think the DPW did a phenomenal job in getting the snow removed and our streets cleared, and you know, we had no accidents of any consequence, and so they did a phenomenal job. I think it's also interesting to note, Vanessa, if you could just mention that, you know, we don't have several different crews that can go out there. This is really all one. It's all an all hands on deck type thing, and these guys go out and work and then come back, sleep a little bit, and go out again. So you just want to comment on that?
Of course. Thank you for reminding me to mention that. So in the last storm, we had 82 people working, considering all the drivers, all the fleet, and also all the parks people. And we had 40 trucks out. The other remaining is really the supervisors, right, that are still on their cars outside, fleet, and then about 12, 15 people under parks. And we don't have a second shift. It was very tricky, the blizzard, because they were calling and they work nonstop for 48 hours. So I mean nonstop, of course, we had to rest them, but there is no option of trying to have two shifts and have some people coming during the day and then have another crew picking up after. So that's why also adds to our overtime, because as soon as they come in, we keep them until we clear everything. So I believe that over 20 years ago, the amount of people that we have doing that work was about 150 people. As of now, just under operations, we have 67. So it is really a big, big difference of what used to be. So if we continue reducing our staff, we're going to definitely continue increasing our overtime. And unfortunately, there is no other way to work when the storm starts until we get it finished. Otherwise, it's much harder to clean. What people do not realize is that it's much easier to plow when the snow is still fresh and it's not hitting freezing temperatures. To send the guys back at home, let's say at 10, 11 p.m. and get them back 6 a.m., if we have a very freezing night condition, as happened all winter, when they come back now, it is very hard ice. It's very hard to move. So that's why we have to have a continuous operation. Another fact that a lot of people may not realize is that after the last drop of snow hits the ground, it takes us on a regular storm. I'm not talking about a blizzard condition or a major snowstorm, between 12 to 17 hours to have all the roads clear. Roads, the city hall parking lot, the library's parking lot, and most of the schools. So during the snow, when it's snowing, we try to keep just the roads passable, but we are not on what we call a clearing mode. As soon as it finishes snowing is when we clear curb to curb. So after that, it is those 12 to 17 hours to a regular 3 to 4 inch snowstorm.
So if you guys want to learn how to drive a plow truck, maybe you could get some part-time work. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Okay. All right. All those in favor? I'm sorry, Miss Edie.
Oh, no,
were
that's
you
okay.
voting
No,
or-
sorry. I was trying to hit the button and it wouldn't go. But anyway, thank you so much, Vanessa.
That's early voting. That's very good.
You're
All those in favor? Okay. That looks unanimous. Okay, thanks very much. I really appreciate it. I apologize for taking so much time tonight. So you were very gracious and staying on. So thanks very much.
No, thank you. Have a good night,
And
everybody.
it looks like you're still at work, so go home and rest.
I am. But you know what's good? I was able to catch up in a couple of emails and still things that was pending, so it wasn't that bad. Thank
All
you.
right.
So much. Have a
Thank
good night.
you. Have a good night.
Hey,
You too.
Thanks, Vanessa.
Safe travels.
Okay, that's all we have. Does anybody have any other questions or comments? If not, I'll accept another motion. Mr. Dellinger,
Motion to
motion
adjourn.
to adjourn. All those in favor? Okay, it's unanimous.
Good night, folks.
Thank
Oh,
you.
it's
Good-
good.
You look like
Yeah.
you're
I know. Yeah.
Wait, I think it looks like
Yeah.
Jessamine looks like she's gonna say something. She's gonna.
It's-
I
What is
think
it?
you didn't vote on the last item.
I know. I
Thank
was gonna
you.
say that, but I thought
Yes,
we
me
were
too.
over it.
I picked up on the
yes,
cue. I
yes,
was like,
yes, yes,
okay, I
I'm
think
sorry,
something.
sorry. Oh, yes.
Oh,
Okay.
oh,
I
you're
know
right.
somebody said vote on this right after we came out, and I said, no, we'll do it at the end. Okay.
Make
Thanks,
a motion to
Chitsman.
cancel my motion.
Okay, so the next one is authorize Mayor Barbara Smith to execute a sole source purchase order on behalf of the Norwalk Police Department for the purchase of one armored rescue vehicle for the total amount not to exceed $361,000, account so noted. Somebody want to move that? Miss Edie moves it. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll call a vote. All those in favor? That looks unanimous. Okay. Now, Mr. Dellinger.
I'll now make a motion to go to bed. I mean, to adjourn.
Chitsme, can we do that now?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All those in favor? Okay, thanks. It's unanimous.
Chitsme.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Night.
Good night.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night.